Sure. Skip this ad. Just like you skipped out on buying Amazon stock and Google.
Warning: swearing may be used on this stream cause we're grown. If you are easily offended, tighten up. Content provided on this stream is intended for entertainment purposes only. It should not be construed as legal or medical advice, and should not be relied upon or acted upon without retaining proper counsel. No copyright infringement and no commercial benefits intended. All copyright belongs to rightful owners. With that mouthful being said, buckle up.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to a new schedule of Foot Culture. This is the first episode of Foot Culture Chats. I'm going to give you a little bit of information, a little bit of housekeeping because we've had a couple of weeks off. So hi, if you're new, my name is Tanya Vital. I'm a UK actor, digital content creator. FTC, or Foot Culture, is a digital arts platform that we've created in lockdown to encourage and uplift northern, particularly underrepresented artists here in the UK. We cover arts and culture, we cover anime, we cover now FTC Chats, which is basically an evening of chat with somebody in the TV or film industry, sharing their experiences. Each week of the new schedule will be a different theme. So this week is FTC Chats. Next week is the arts showcase that many of you have come to love. And then we're back with the anime podcast and so on and so on. Tonight, I am joined by a brilliant Northern guest, Sam Fray. She is Programme Director of Beyond the Brontes at West Yorkshire. She's worked in the TV and film industry up here for quite a while. So I'm really excited to introduce Sam. Hi, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I've been trying to get you on the show for so long, but you know, I've got lockdown depression, and I needed a holiday, and then so it just hasn't been the right time. But finally, we get you on.
People might not believe this, but I'm quite shy, so I don't like being in front of camera at all whatsoever. Considering how much I love TV and film, it's really odd, but I'm glad that I'm here with you.
I'm glad that you're here. So I'm rustling. I do apologise to any audience members that are listening to that. It's not an ASMR. It's not an ASMR episode. So can you just tell us a bit about your creative history? Because I know that I've seen some of your other interviews that you've done, and I know that you were a mature student. So when did you get into the industry, and how did you do that?
So I always wanted to do it. So I went to college when I was 18 and did a national diploma in TV production, I think it was. It's all changed now, the names. But I really wanted to be on telly. I think at that point I wanted to be like a presenter. I wanted to be a host. And then I fell pregnant with my eldest son, and I gave up, and I decided that I needed to do the grown-up thing, get married, get a proper job, whatever that was.
Yeah.
So I just thought, in order for me to fulfill my dream at that time, I really needed to go to London. I never had plans to stay. In fact, when I fell pregnant with my son, I had an unconditional offer at the University of East London to do media and marketing, because I just felt I wanted to hit it with both angles. I had a friend who did PR, and I thought the bright lights of London was where I needed to go. And then, when you've got a small baby, it's not the right thing. So I gave up. But then one day he came home and he said to me, Mum, people are saying he's going to kill me for telling this story. He said to me, Mum, people think I'm not a proper black boy because I don't want to fight, and I like to do my schoolwork. And I thought, what does that mean? What is a proper black boy? Because I don't know what that is, because to me he is, of course he is.
Yeah.
I felt like that was because he wasn't represented. He's a boy that loved anime, he loved games, he loved cuddles. He's definitely going to kill me, but he was just himself. And I felt, do you know what, now is the best time. He was 8 years old. I hated my jobs. I'm not saying that these industries were terrible. I worked in banking, I worked in insurance, I'd done it all, and I just
But it just didn't feed the soul. Yeah.
It didn't. I didn't have any joy every day. So I decided to go to uni. I mean, we were poor already. We'd never had any money. So, you know, I thought 3 years is what's the worst that could happen. And to be honest, I never thought that I would graduate. I just didn't. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Apart from have kids. I mean, that's work itself, but that was so hard. But I'm glad it's a journey I went on, because it's the industry that I should be in.
Yeah.
More than
it's that stuck out to me in particular when I saw your other interviews, because I've been an actor for about 20 years now. But in between that, for various reasons, I've done other things. So my first degree, I was actually 27 when I did my first degree, and it wasn't anything to do with performing arts. It was architectural technology. And if I'd have gone down that road, I'd have been a lot better off than I am now.
But you'd be rich, wouldn't you? You'd have had lots of money.
Yeah, but it just didn't. As much as I liked the design element of it, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Acting's always, or performing, creating has always kind of been my number one drive. So yeah, it's, I think, and to be honest with you, the course that I went to at drama school, I didn't do what normal actors do. You know, they finish college and then they go to drama school at 18. I again went as a mature student. I'd been acting for 15 years before I went to drama school. So I was a mature student at both places. Luckily, the course that I was on at my drama school, everybody was in the same boat as me. We'd all been in the industry or done other things, other courses. So we were all of a similar kind of, well, it went from, I think, 18 to 45, but we'd all had experience. But I just think it's interesting that, particularly in the North, I mean, we're probably going to get onto it, I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but particularly in the North, access to, hi, Crazy Killer Leon, hi, Flower Shed, welcome to the stream. Access to, Crazy Killer Leon saying hi, Sam. Access to things like courses, resources, the whole having to move to London thing to pursue this career, are major kind of what's the word? Obstacles. I think definitely I would say. Barrier. Yeah, definitely barriers. So from that course, you then started working with TV companies. Is that right? You worked with ITV, and now you're with.
I wish it was that simple. Like when I left uni, I felt like I have this piece of paper, everybody's going to want me. And I was a mature student. Could you imagine? I felt that was going to get people to take me seriously, but I couldn't find a job. And then to add sort of like more fuel to the fire, I got pregnant with my 4th child. So there's me now, newborn baby, 3 other kids. And I'm like, but what am I going to do now? At one point, I wanted to move to Manchester. I wanted to live in Salford because I felt I can't go to London, but Salford isn't bad because my mum will commute. And then I just kept applying for things, and I managed to get on a Channel 4 programme called For 3 Minutes, which was during Global Entrepreneur Week. I don't know how I got on it, and thank God to Aaron Carty and his company for choosing me as a producer for the week. I don't know what he saw in me, but literally I had to go to London for 10 days. I had a 6-month baby. I had to leave for 10 days. It was awful. It was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had. I cried more than I could tell you.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah, but honestly, it made me think about the entrepreneur in me and what I could do, because I couldn't get a job. I mean, I went for job interviews, but I'd need to be on set for 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I couldn't be on 6. I had kids. How was I going to get them to school? So I came back from that 10 days. I made a few contacts, and I decided I'm going to set up my own production company. Yeah, I'm going to start making stuff. I mean, university did not teach me how to film or edit because there were so many young people on the course. There were so many people and they all knew what they were doing because they'd done A-levels. So when it came to getting out cameras, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So the only thing I could rely on was my organisational skills and the fact that I could sort of maybe hold a room a little so I could tell people what to do. So I decided that I was going to set up Boujie Media and that I was going to become a filmmaker. but not myself. I was gonna work with people that I work with at university to give them an opportunity to showcase their work.
Right.
And we did okay. You know, we did. There is a young lady in Leeds called Laura Bartlett. And Laura's fantastic, and she had a company, and she's going to kill me now. I've totally forgotten what it's called. This is me, my brain. It's
Yeah, don't worry. I get streamer brain as well. You start asking a question, then you forget what you just asked.
But Laura was amazing, and she had a magazine. And I just went to her one day and I went, Laura, can I make videos for your magazine free of charge? We just need stuff that we can put out so that we can prove that we can do what we're doing. And it was called Urban Cocoa, and she did.
Oh yeah, I've seen the videos. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got to do the opening of Trinity Shopping Centre in Leeds. Got to do Half a Nickel fashion show. I mean, it was brilliant. And from that, I used to just harass a lovely lady called Marsha Witter with my videos.
Love Marsha, yeah.
I absolutely adore Marsha. And I think she just got sick of me. And then one day she passed my details on to Emmerdale. And that's how I managed to get my first role. And that was in the print room of ITV. Mm-hmm. And that was a brilliant job. I'd spent 18 months there. And I got to know a lot of people. And I stayed there for 6 years.
Wow.
You know, 6 years. They couldn't get rid of me. I think I was in every department possible. I just moved
to stay in a job 6 years now. That sounds crazy. There's no such thing as a job for life anymore, is there?
No. I think on Emmerdale there is. There's quite a lot of people on Emmerdale that have been there for a long, long time. But it's like a family, you know. So, you know, if you get up every day and you're with your friends, why would you want to leave?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. There are a few places I've felt like, definitely Kaching. Kaching was definitely a family. They could have done that forever, even though the boys used to wind me up. It's definitely a job I could have done. Casual.
I can tell.
Oh, did you see it?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame that we weren't all there, but you know, people have, we're all grown ups now. People have babies and all sorts of stuff going on. But yeah, it was good to see the guys that could make it. Thanks for watching that. Yeah. So you say that when you were at Emmerdale, you were in the print room. What kind of roles and responsibilities? The questions that I'm asking are kind of questions that I think I would want to know if I was a person thinking about joining the TV industry, not necessarily as an actor or a director or a camera operator, but maybe something else. And the questions that I'm asking are kind of like to showcase other positions within TV and filmmaking. So you mentioned working in the print room. What kind of stuff does that entail?
So that was us so when the writers do their writing, so it's like a whole hierarchy. So you've got writers and they'll go to conference and they'll come up with storylines and then they'll write the script. And then you've got the script editors and they will come up and get the script into the form that the actors get. And they do more than one draft. So they'll do 3 drafts. And what we used to get the first and the third draft, and we'd get the storylines as well, and we'd have to print them and distribute them to everybody in the production that needed it. So that would be the producer, the costume, hair and makeup, it would be the canteen. So it'd be everybody that would be involved in making in the units, because they'll have more than one unit that are filming at a time. So it was really a great role in the terms of you got to be in the front of everybody.
Yeah.
So, you know, like if whatever job you wanted to do, like I wanted to be a production secretary, it just meant making sure you remembered everybody's name in the office and sort of like being a bit of a nuisance and sort of talking to everybody. I mean, the great thing about that job was partway through, they changed it and they made it a pool. So what we would do then is that we'd go on a rotation. So you wouldn't always be in the print room. So I used to sometimes cover Estelle, which was she was a PA to the producer, and I'd get to do that, or I'd get to do the production secretary role, or in scripts, or even in clear up. I don't know if the clear up ladies are going to love this, but I love that. Now, clear up was something I never understood what it was, but it's part of post-production. So we got to transcribe. So when the subtitles go out, they clean up the script and they send it to the subtitle people, and it goes on that way. You get to do the omnibus episodes. it was just a really varied role. So it meant that I got to meet everybody on production. The only thing I never got to be part of was on set. So I did everything in the office. So it's a big old production. There's loads of roles available.
Yeah, I one thing that sticks with me from my time at Emmerdale is people don't realise, like, you get your lines, but on a soap, your lines can be changed. You get your lines a couple of months in advance. You get this massive pile, and you stick them in the corner of the room, and you go through them as you film. But then before you get to that episode, they can change. Yeah. And then they can change again, and then you can learn all your lines, and you get on set, and that day they change. So I don't envy you having to give all those out. That is unreal.
It was amazing though, because it just meant you just got everywhere. You didn't have to sit in one place. You were just all over. Yeah. And we used to have a big old printer, and that printer was so temperamental. It would break. I think it would break. It was just a joy, you know. Never knew what you were going to come back to.
So I know that at the minute you've got a position with Screen Yorkshire. I've looked at the website, and I've seen you share all your tweets and stuff like that. I've got a kind of brief idea what Beyond the Brontes is, but just to clarify it a little bit more for anybody who doesn't know, what is Beyond the Brontes?
So it's an entry level scheme. So it's really what we're doing now, sort of breaking down what the industry is and figuring out where people can go, because if you don't know, you just don't know. So a lot of young people don't realise that this industry is made up of a lot of people. So it's like in any other industry. In order for stuff to get on air, it's not just the actors, it's not just the camera or the producers. We need lawyers, we need accountants, we need grips, we need hair and makeup, we need costume. There's a lot of people that get your favourite show on screen. And we really need to diversify that. We really need to make sure that the industry reflects the country as a whole and even the region, because we have so much talented people who just discount this industry and think it's not for them, when actually it is. And if they decided to be part of it, they could enrich it and change it for the better, you know, because we need more voices, because that's how we get to tell different stories.
I think this industry in particular, like other industries, there are kind of, how do I explain what I mean? There are tried and trusted ways of getting into various industries. You know that if you want to work in a bank, you maybe start out in the call centre, or you start out as a cashier and you work your way up. If you want to work in a school, you go learn to be a teacher, and then you train as a TA and da-da-da-da-da. Getting these roles that are behind camera, it's almost like it's like a secret. Like, how does one get from this to that? How does one get from I don't know, being a student to being a grip, or from being I don't know, electrician to being a spark? We don't talk about it enough, and I think it's really important, that the scheme that you've created, and I would love to see, especially in our region, it diversified a lot more, because, you know, I think I've only ever had, I mean, even directors, like, I've only ever had one black director. I've had maybe 2 black mixed race camera operators. That's it. You know, and like you said, it's a massive machine. Like, actors are the smallest part of any production. The people behind camera start working on it before the actors even get there, and are still working on it when we've gone home to bed.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a massive machine.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an important program, and in all honesty, I mean, my last job to this was in business affairs, so like I used to be a coordinator for that, but it was just so important to me that we had diversity in the industry, that I went off and I used to talk about it a lot. And when this job came up, I just thought, okay, I'm going to give it a go, because I really want to see change. I mean, I've got 4 young children. Well, they're not young, but, you know, I've got 4 children. And, you know, none of them are interested in film and telly, which is crazy to me, because I talk about it all the time. And it's because when they're at school, creativity isn't something that's at the forefront of what they do. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm just, you know, they'll talk about going into business, but what element of business? You know, you could be a business development person in telly. You want to be a lawyer, you could be a lawyer in telly. There's so much things that you can do and you can add to it. And I just felt if I can't engage with my kids and get them to do this, then I want to help other people's children to do it.
Yeah.
So it's my small crusade to try and make a change.
We've got a question in the chat. I think we're going to cover it. Welcome, Tree Noops. I think we're probably going to cover it eventually. But Tree Noops has asked, how does one pressure the industry? How did they do it here how did they do it here in the States? So I'm assuming Tree Noops, you're in America. I think you might be able to answer this, Sam, a little bit better than me. But I think one thing that America has the advantage on the UK is numbers. It's a smaller country. We don't have the same kind of numbers in terms of representation. So putting that pressure on it seems almost at times impossible here. What do you think, Sam?
I definitely agree. It's a difficult one, especially for us in the North. It's a very difficult conversation for us to have. I mean, throughout all of this, I've watched many seminars, I've looked at discussions, and it's a very Southern perspective. And it's very different for us here because, as you said, numbers play a big part in that. So, like, I often go into offices and I don't see any Black people. I don't really see any Asian people. I just, I could be the only Black woman in a room. And that's quite difficult because if you walk into that room and you say, right, listen, we need change, people may well say, yes, you're right, we do. But like, I can't be the one that makes that change because...
Not you on your own.
I can't do that. That has to be a big collective thing. But without those numbers behind, it makes it difficult, which is why I guess this is so important to me in order to encourage more people to come in. But at the same time, acknowledging that it's a difficult industry. It's not easy. Yeah. It isn't at all. But the more people that choose it, the easier that will be because you'll have each other as support and then you'll be able to have these conversations in numbers.
Yeah. So for anybody who's not in the UK, to give it context, we are in the north of the UK, which is kind of like Yorkshire area. It's possibly... No, I was going to say the south because they've got Atlanta in the south and Atlanta's kind of a big hub. I don't know, somewhere random like Milwaukee. If you imagine that the amount of Black people in Milwaukee, for example, not a lot, that's pretty much kind of thing we're dealing with here. I think that you answered the question. Tree Noops is saying thanks. That's another reason why I created this show in particular, because I've had to move to London various times for my job. I pretty much don't live anywhere. I live out of a suitcase because I go where the work is. But London is kind of the main place where I've lived other than my birth home. And it is because, first and foremost, the industry up here is very small. That's changing now with Channel 4 moving up here and the BBC in Manchester. But even then, in terms of representation, like, it's just... not. Or we tend to buy in. So when I say buy in, we will bring crews up or even actors, even diverse actors, Black and brown actors from London to do things. And I mention it all the time. It's almost like in the general psyche of, stereotypes or what somebody imagines a Black person to be, they're not from Yorkshire. No, so we're fighting a double battle.
I mean, I've met loads of people who have asked me if, like, I live like near loads of sheep and things. And I'm like, no, I don't, not really. I mean, I could drive out a bit and I could, but then also lots of people that don't realise that Black people come from West Yorkshire or we're here.
It's insane. Like, I think I was laughing about it with the boys from Kaching when I first met them. I was the first Yorkshire person they'd ever met in real life. Anytime I'd say no, they'd be like, moo. And they literally could not understand that I didn't live in Emmerdale Farm. It's insane. And it's 2020, So, I think it definitely is on us, the adults, I guess, to try and change that. And encourage representation where we can, and I never stop talking about it. So
me either. I talk about it all the time.
we have to. Yeah. So you're looking. We're probably going to cover it a bit at the end as well. But at the minute you're looking for people for a new set of intakes, I guess, for Beyond the Brontes. And when does that end?
So the application deadline is next Friday at 12 midday. And really what I want to do is I want people who have never thought about being in this industry and just want to give it a go and try. I mean, you know, it's just one of those things that if you in lockdown have been making TikToks or did what me and my daughter did and started producing podcasts and stuff, you are creative and you really need to be part of this industry because your mind is thinking in a way that we need. So please apply. Don't feel like you need to have A-levels, you need a degree, because you don't at all whatsoever. This is an industry that you can learn what you need to learn. There are courses available. But, you know, if you start at entry level, you can go to Screen Skills and get additional training. So I would implore everybody to apply. You need to be from the Leeds City regions. You need to be between the ages of 18 and 24. And you need to be committed. We're trying our best to make it part-time, but you will need to turn up to sessions, you know, and we'll make it fun. I've got loads of fantastic things on the cards and I just want to meet new, young, amazing people.
It's interesting what you say about TikTok because there's none of my friends even could conceive that they could ever be an actor or work in the TV industry. I think I'm definitely an anomaly from where I'm from. So it's just about, it's that representation, seeing somebody else doing something that you might want to do. And at the minute, there's just that bridge that we just need to, you know, well, you're doing it with Beyond the Brontes, but make that bridge between that leap. So it's not something that people can't conceive. The reason I'm thinking, my train of thought is, but you're right, they are already doing it. The stuff I see on TikTok, you know, I was just going to say kids and I don't want to be disparaging. There's young people on TikTok that are doing videography that Steven Spielberg, I mean, I might be jumping the gun here, but you know, it is top-notch editing, top-notch cinematography, and you know, so they're already doing it. It's just a different platform. So if they can take those skills from TikTok or Instagram, or there might be graphic designers, you could be in the editing suite, you know, on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. You know, they're already doing it.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people feel that you need to be a special sort of person to do it. So I always say, listen, I'm a single mum of 4. There is no way that you need to be a special person. You just need a desire to do it. And that's really all you need, you know, because everything else is about soft skills. You know, when I first met some of our participants, a lot of the things that they needed from me were, a lot of people didn't know how to make a coffee. So they needed to because in this industry, they always say, make sure that everybody's coffees are filled and stuff like that. And that's it. If you're working in an office, you can learn a lot of things. You just need to come with a few soft skills and you're good to go. Yeah. I mean, I say this, and I know a lot of people that know me know that I'm really terrible for this. And I will admit to you all, I'm the biggest hypocrite because like I always lead with fear. So I am not as further on as I should be because I'm afraid to fail. Right. But what I would say to young people is don't be like me. I am not the best example. You know, you can go out there, you have what it takes. Just try, give it a go, you know, get yourself a camera, continue to film, continue to tell your own stories, and then you can create your own platforms. And, you know, be part of the industry because it's your right. You deserve to tell a story, especially from our region. You know, I know so many talented young people and I'm like, you know, you guys are making music videos on your iPhones. Yep. And I'm like, I'm in awe of you. You guys are already better than a lot of the things I've seen. Why are you not part of this industry? And they're like, oh, no, there's nobody in it. It's
that disconnect as well. Yeah. It's that disconnect of I couldn't, that's not for us. Or that's not accessible to us.
I'd rather see your stuff, honestly, please.
Yeah.
You know, all of these great things, I just sit and watch them and I just think, wow, I wish I could engage with you and I wish you would come in and do stuff. But I just think it's just that persona of it's quite an elitist industry and you need to know people, you need to have this and you just don't. At all whatsoever.
Well, I think both things are true. I think you are right. I think there is definitely room for people that what am I trying to say? I definitely do believe that our industry in particular is built on nepotism. Little things like sparks and things like that. They've had training, but it's usually these people have worked together before, so they'll work together again. Or this person knows that person, so they'll call them in for this job if they need somebody. It's not necessarily a conscious thing to keep people out. It's just it's easier to just to work with people that you've always worked with, and it's one of those age-old adages of, oh well, this is how it's always been done. And I think it's just about shaking that up a little bit, and broadening that. And I think and then again, when people have done that, it's definitely open for for anyone.
Oh, absolutely. Do you know what? I'd like to be quite radical, and there's already these conversations happening, is that there's so much quick turnaround. So the reason that happens is that things will be in prep for a while, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, right, by tomorrow we need a runner who can drive, who can take cameras, who can, and it's always so fast. But then also we don't have like standard job descriptions as well. So for our program, what I do is, because we, in the first year, we had internships, and what I encouraged the production companies to do was to work off a standard job description, so that I could go back to my participants and say, okay, we've done a skills audit, these are your skills, you really could do this job because you already have that there available. So when you do your CV, you match it to the CV and you apply. And I could do that because I had a budget to do that, and we paid for those young people to be in there. But how great would it be if as an industry, we had standard job descriptions that people could look at and match their skills and then skill up? Because how can you have a career professional development if you don't know what skills that you need, if every single production is varied? So like one production might want a production assistant who can film and edit. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, even I would struggle to film and edit, and this is an entry-level role. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in order to make it more accessible for everybody to want to enter.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Why do you think that is? That the turnaround is unbelievably fast. It's a very fast-paced industry, particularly soaps. I've spoke about this numerous times, but from an actor's perspective, you could be filming 3 episodes in one day. So one in the morning, your head's on this script. The afternoon, your head's here, and then late evening or late afternoon, your head's on different. And you could be doing 3 different episodes in 3 blocks with 3 units, and that's just in one day. So it is mental. So I get that. But also, is there an element of how do I put this? If we don't give a job description, then we're not bound to it. So then we can push how much we actually want from people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I don't think that is the case. I just think that everybody, depending on what it is that they've pitched for, all of them require different things. And then there's also budgets. If they don't have a big budget, then it'll be okay. We can't afford to have this standard production assistant who will just come in and do the paperwork. We might need them to do a bit of filming, so we can do like a taster tape, so that we can show it to the broadcaster. And I think it's just like that. It really depends on the project and the script. And it's not going to be easy. Trying to standardize these things is not going to be easy. But during COVID, I've listened to lots of talks where people have spoken about the hours people work and well-being. And there is real desire right now to change that. So, people could be doing 60-hour weeks, if you're I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before about the unit. Shout out to the schedulers, because remember, there is somebody who has to schedule actors to be on all these units, and I don't know how they do it, but they can manage to get you guys into all kinds of places all in one day. Yeah. But again, they do that because they need to make sure they maximize on time and on costs, to make sure that they're not losing out on the light. And that is actually somebody's job, like a whole job to do that. Mm-hmm. And who would know that kind of existed?
Yeah, shout out to schedulers. As I say, the actors are in the bath with their glass of red wine at, 9 p.m. and the scheduler's still at work waiting for everybody to finish so they can give you your time for tomorrow. It's mad. It's mad. All right, so we spoke a bit about solutions, but particularly thinking about our industry and what you were saying about how we make that bridge, because now you mentioned the TikTok thing, there's so many people that I can now put forward for this scheme, because I never made the bridge in my head before today, and now I've just made it myself. But what other solutions could we come up with in the north to try and, particularly with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and the call for equality that we've been trying, and diversity in this country, but particularly in our region, what do you think we could be doing better to kind of make that happen?
We need more Black and brown production companies, and that's it. More people need to do it. I mean, I say this, but as we've spoken before, I have always had a desire to make Boujie Media an actual thing, that, like a proper company that pitches, that goes out to broadcasters, but not just broadcasters, but also eventually like platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok as well. They'll all start commissioning too. So just being part of the commissioning process, because I mean, I don't know if you know, but I don't know any Black or Asian production companies in Yorkshire.
Not in our region.
Yeah, so there's a company called Meridian Line, and they're currently working. They got like Channel 5 did a big call out for in the north, and they got commissioned for that. And I know Channel 4 are doing a BAME-led indie incubator, but I don't know any other Black production companies. I mean, I know a lot of talented people that are making their own music videos and things, but I really feel strongly that we need to do that, and I'm on the journey to get to sort myself out to do that. I mean, that's quite a frightening place to be, but I just think it's really important, because without different perspectives, how is it going to change? So like, if I can encourage another diverse young person to join my company, to work with me, and if I implement all the things that I've said I want to implement where I can, then that will encourage them, and that will help with the pipeline. So your big indies that we've got here, like your True Norths, like your screen houses, can then benefit from that pipeline of new people coming in, because Boujie Media's there, or another company's there, and they've helped with that progress.
I mean, I've worked with Chicken Shop let me put my teeth in. Chicken Shop Shakespeare for a number of years. There's B2,
Tyrone,
2B, Tyrone. There's 2B acting. There's various, like you were saying, individuals doing their own thing. But in terms of companies, and I think it's the same in theatre. I think because we're a underfunded, underdeveloped region compared to somewhere like Manchester or London. And funding traditionally has not been on our side. I think people have tried and then come up against certain challenges, and then it's kind of like pushed them back too far, discouraged them. But like you said, sorry, go on.
It's absolutely hard work. I mean, I have sat during lockdown, I've written a business plan. I've never written a business plan before. And, there's loads of things that on a daily basis, I think, I just want to give up. Like, this is just too much for me, because like, I think in pictures, I've got a creative mind. So sitting down, doing a profit and loss chart,
oh God,
having to think about, I find it really difficult. And like, there's lots of times, as you said, funding's difficult. So like, how do I access lottery funding? I've never written a bid. That's a minefield. That's very difficult, because I don't know what they want me to say. I know that my passion lies there, but maybe it doesn't come across on paper. So you can imagine why you would want to give it up. And then in order for anybody to take you seriously in this industry, you need to have a limited company set up, but you also need a track record. So, how do you get that? How can I go to Channel 4 and say, hey, I'm amazing, and I think I can make the best factual or drama that you've seen, but I have no track record, so why would they want to give me their money? So it's a process, and it's not going to be easy. So like, I've got myself like a 3-year plan of how I'm going to do things. And I realize that I can't do it overnight, but the intention is there. And as I've done with you, I've gone out to people and I've said, listen, this is what I'm planning to do. I'm going to call on you when I have those days where I want to give up, and please motivate me. So this is what I've done. And it's really important that this happens. And especially now Black Lives Matter is much more prominent than it was back in 2016. Now is the time for these things to happen because, people seem to want to listen. So it's time to start banging on those doors.
Yeah. And beyond listen, there are numerous companies that have put into the public sphere that they're supportive and they're going to make changes. So we are going to be holding you to account, companies. The thing about the bids thing as well. So it's the same in theatre, like funding bids. Those applications, like literally, people are employed specifically to do that job because those applications are like an A level. You need it. There's a certain formula of things that you need to say and need to hit for it to be even taken to the next stage. And some people know that stuff and some people don't. So that is just, like you said, a minefield. And anybody who, I think that's another solution. Anybody who's good at that stuff, who can assist people. I think Bradford Producing Hub have recently done something on helping people with funding bids. Yeah. But the Arts Council, again, don't really fund TV and film. So if there's anybody in film or something like that that could help, that would be an amazing solution for us to start.
And also remember that Black and brown people are underrepresented in these bids as well. Like I've read a lot of things where people really want more Black and brown people to apply because, like, how do you do that? How do you know how to do it? It's as you said, it's a difficult thing. So if there is anybody out there that's great at these things, I mean, definitely come my way because I've sat up until late on many nights, just sat at my computer. Like my kids now think I'm always busy, and I am always busy, but it's just because I'm trying to get my head around stuff while holding down a full-time job.
Yeah. Tree Noops is asking, are there any other groups of Black filmmakers that are fighting your fight where you can work together if there is? What is IFT? I don't know what IFT is, Tree Noops. Explain what you mean there. So there are definitely filmmakers in our region doing things, but again, specifically because of the layout of the land where we are. So we're in kind of small cities. Yorkshire is like the state, if you imagine. Or we're being hosted.
We're being hosted.
Thanks for the host, little Saf. Appreciate you. So our region is like the state, and within that state there are cities, but the cities are so far apart. It's like we're all in our little pockets. So there are people doing stuff, but we're not in a big enough clump together to make it seem like we're together. We forget about each other, if that makes sense. Do you think that's right, Sam?
Oh, I absolutely do. And this is why I find it really is important to reach out to people. And I reach out to people further afield as well. So like in London, like I'll tell them what my plans are and ask, as I said, for help and support, because I think there has to be a coming together. I would love to see a time when there's like a lot of Black and brown indies in the region.
Yeah.
So it's not just for one person to do it, it's a collective. And if we all come together, because we're all going to have different ideas about what we want to do. So like I will always skew to kids because I've got kids, it's what I know, but somebody else might be into like hard hitting drama or like factual entertainment. They might want to come up with formats and game shows, so there's scope for a lot to be done. So it would be great. And if anybody's watching here and they want to get in touch, please do. Because like, as I said, I'm the girl in the back. Like it takes a lot for me to come out and do stuff like this because I like to hide. I'd be quite happy to sit at my desk and just do what I need to do and nobody knows my name. But
do you think that, so Tree Noops is saying IFT means Independent Film Trust. But the thing you mentioned about like everybody wants to do different things, it's the same in theatre. Like there's been numerous initiatives in the north for Black and brown artists to create something together, and I don't know why it never seems to take off. But it's that old saying, like it's not that Black people don't get on. It's just we have got so many different ideas that we can't seem to put them together to create one forward movement. Do you see what I mean? Do you think that's true? Or
I do, and I think. If you have a look at the landscape right now, and if you've watched all of these seminars that are on there, controversially, I think we're a long way behind our southern counterparts.
Yeah.
We are decades behind.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up going to theatre. I mean, and I forgot about that until I was talking to a friend of mine. Like, I used to go to the Playhouse all the time for comedy shows, for all kinds of little plays. And then one day that disappeared. My kids don't go to theatre. It's not part of our thing. It's not something that we do. And to think that this city, and I speak about Leeds because that's where I'm from, but, in West Yorkshire as a whole, used to be a hub for a lot of Black and brown people doing a lot of stuff. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Was it that funding just dried up? Was it that new people?
Basically, it was the economic crash.
Yeah, that's it. Like, new heads of departments came in and decided that they couldn't fund this, and then it just disappeared. And all that talent, all of those creative leaders who were there at the time have gone, and then it didn't filter down. So now we're like decades behind, and we really need to run really fast.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Yeah, that's true. So the IFT apparently supports underrepresented talent in the film industry. So all this in supporting underrepresented talent in the film industry there's been talk of it for a while, but if I'm honest, not much has been done about it in our particular region. But as we're saying, we're hoping now that that things as they are in the world have moved on from there. So next question is, Beyond the Brontes is specifically for up to 26?
No, from 18 to 24.
18 to 24. So, and this is not the only scheme. I mean, pretty much every scheme up until now has been aimed at young people, not 20, not. How old are they going to be? 18, 16 to 21, or maybe 25, 26. Why do you think these schemes are specifically aimed at young people? The reason I say this, and I brought it up to Channel 4 and I brought it up to many people, I'm like a broken record. Particularly, as you say, in our industry, there's not been access to things, there's not been the resources. So there are people that are our age, or even older, that never had the opportunity to do the things that we can now do or are doing. So they've missed out on certain things, or they tried and came across challenges and so gave up. Why do you think not us in person, but like in general, focus on young people and not necessarily just leave the age thing out of it?
I think it's got a lot to do with like NEET. So those young people who are not in education, training or employment. I know I've got the acronym wrong, but I know I've got most of the things in there. And I think it's got a lot to do with that. So they want to make sure that there's an employability element to it. So I know that in my program, we've got funding to give people work experience and internships. And that's to make sure that young people can find a career path.
Right.
But I mean, going into this the age I did, I strongly believe that, we have a lot to give. I know I do. I'm 40 now, and I know that I've still got a lot to give. So what I do is, wherever I go, and if I have a conversation and somebody over that age asks a question or requires help, I'll give them my email and I'll pass on my knowledge to them, because I think it's important. Just because you're over the age of 24 does not mean to say that you can't enter this industry. I'm living proof of that, and I've managed to build a whole new career now at my age with my family. So, and you're right, we do need to do it. But when you get older, I guess it feels like for you personally that, you've got family, can you go back out and retrain again because you've got bills to pay? So I guess it would be really good if there was a program that was like for return to work. And I know they do that in a lot of industries, where if people are out, want to come and rejoin an industry, like I think PricewaterhouseCoopers does it, like they'll invite people in, your skills are needed. Mm-hmm. It would be really nice if that was an option without having to go back to college and do night school and, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I say it as well, in particular because there's directors that I know that have worked in the industry for years and years and years, and then had to go into various other kind of career paths because of the challenges. And if there was something that allowed them, like a scheme that allowed them to come back, I think that's another solution that people in our region, companies in our region should think about.
I would say to those people that Screen Skills exist for that. So Screen Skills has a program, a CPD program, so Career Professional Development Program, that really should work to that. So if those are directors and they've got like a long work history, they actually provide funding. So they provide bursaries for people to go on courses. So, I mean, one of those courses we're hoping to do with our participants. So like, we've now got the National Film and Television School based in Leeds.
Yeah.
They do stuff like intro to self-shooting, because in this industry you need
with
to
the
be
camera. With the camera.
Yeah. With the camera, sorry. Yeah.
We've got these terms that, just to make it clear.
Yeah, this is shooting with the camera. So you learn how to do that, and then you learn how to I guess to edit as well, because you need to do the two, and they'll help you with that. So they will help you build your professional career. And that's really big right now at the moment. So I work for West Yorkshire, and they're doing a lot of work around that too. So there's lots of programs that are popping up that should actually help encourage people back in.
Yeah, I'll put a link to Screen Skills later on in the socials. Okay, so yeah, just going back to the person that you said who saw something in you. I think that's really important for us to talk about, because I am only here because maybe 3 or 4 people in my career saw something and opened that door. And if it hadn't been for them, namely John Hogarth at the National Youth Theatre, Bridie Moore at my college, and maybe 1 or 2 other people, Amanda Huxtable is one, and a handful of people that I've met in my career that have taken a chance on me to be that's then meant that I've been able to go on and do other things. I think that is so important.
It absolutely is. It's beyond important, and I would say that there's loads of people who have been there, and I'm only going to name a few. But if I ever get my BAFTA, don't worry, I'm gonna name check you all. But Marsha was definitely one. I adore Marsha.
I do.
I tell her this all the time. She's an amazing woman, and also to get this job, there was a really wonderful guy called Mark Robinson, and I always do this all the time, and I'm sure I embarrass him, but he is a creative director of a company called Wise Owl.
Right.
That's just popped up, part of Line Pictures, and I was at ITV, and we just used to meet for coffee. So like I had him as an informal mentor. I'm not sure that he knew he was my mentor, but I had him down as one. And he was just like, Sam, you're really good at this. You need to move on, and without his talking to, I would not have applied for this job, and I would have still been doing the job I was doing because I was afraid to take the next step.
Yeah.
And it's having those people who sponsor you. I mean, I think at certain stages you don't want a mentor, you want a sponsor. You want someone who's going to talk about you when you're not in the room, somebody who's going to say, listen, this person's brilliant. They might not have everything that you want on that job description, but listen, you need them. And that's what he did for me, and I will forever be grateful.
I also think that that's now become us. Like I have now done that. There are times when I've recommended somebody or gave somebody some advice, and I always say to them, now you have to do it as well. Like I've done this for you, you have to now pass it on. Legacy, I think, is what I'm trying to talk about. Legacy is really important for us to be all able to keep the door open for each other.
Absolutely. We need to. My mum always calls it like not pulling up the ladder. So she'll always say to me, Sam, never pull up the ladder, always keep it there. And it's right. Whenever I go somewhere, I want to take people with me. I don't want to do it on my own.
Yeah.
I'm like a sociable person. I need to be around people. Yeah. So please come on in with me. I'm not going to close the door because, you have something that I don't have, and I can learn from you and you can learn from me. And I think that's really important for us to do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so briefly about schemes, not Beyond Brontes in particular, just schemes in general, like schemes before the Black Lives Matter movement, schemes that have been, announced since the Black Lives Matter movement. It seems like Black and brown people in our industry particularly are continuously in schemes. Do you feel these schemes are a distraction from actually doing the work, or do you think, I mean, obviously you're going to say Beyond the Brontes is beyond doing something for the sake of it, because they get internships and apprenticeships after that, but in general, do you think a lot of these schemes are kind of just distractions?
I got to be honest, I have been known to say that I'm not really a fan of them. And I know it's weird that I run one, but I think there has to be an additional conversation, because the problem with schemes in the past is there have been loads, but what happens to those people? You know, so there has never been like a tracking of those people at all, how they're getting on. I'm quite a holistic person. So when I took this job on, I knew that I wanted to be radical. I wanted to do something that was very different. And I feel like that's what Beyond Brontes is. You know, it's very different in terms of we had 50 young people. We now have an alumni network. We have one-to-one support. We have CV sessions. If they want interview prep, we'll do that. And there's just a team of 2 of us. We work as part of a big team, but there's only 2 people in our team.
Wow.
We will take the time out and we will be there and we will track them. So I always say to them, listen, you know, you're never gone. Like, you graduated, but you're still part of us.
Yeah.
We'll still always be there for you. And I think that's no disrespect to any other scheme, but, you know, a lot of them never really had that.
Yeah.
You know, so people would go in, but what happened to them when they went into companies?
Yeah.
Like, how did they get on? So if any of my participants are in the industry, even when they moved up the ladder, I would still hope that they'd get in touch to tell me how it would go in, so I could advocate for them, so that they always felt that they had somebody to go to. And I think this is a problem with schemes, because people leave because it's difficult, especially if you're a Black and brown person. Like, when I started at ITV, I knew quite a few people. By the time I'd left, they'd all gone. You know,
Yeah,
there was, you know.
Even without the added thing of discrimination or any of that stuff, it's a very tough industry. It's very tough hours. It's tough on your social life, particularly if you're a woman with children. There's so many factors that can put pressure on people. Yeah, I think you're right. Having that support system is so important.
Yeah.
So important.
And for this, it was really an important part of it. So it formed part of the core of the program. So like, in fact, I used to always get told, remember, Sam, there's a training element, because I just wanted to cuddle everybody. I just wanted to wrap them up in a hug and just say, listen, you are good enough, you are brilliant, and do all those things. So as part of our sessions, we always have resilient sessions. We have confidence building. I'll try and do, before COVID, I'd try and do things where they'd have to be together, because I really wanted them to have peer-to-peer support, so that they met people that they would never normally mix with, but that the idea was that they could form their own production companies or form their own crews, because I think that's so important if we're going to build a long-lasting legacy of people in the industry that aren't going to leave, that will stay.
Yeah. I've already got maybe 10 people in my head that I'm thinking we all just need to get together and get this shit done.
Do it.
But I'll tell you after. So what if money was no object and space and time was no object? What is your passion? What would you create? What would you make? What would you commission? What is your passion?
Have I ever told you that I'm obsessed with Shonda Rhimes?
No.
Okay, so the reason that I'm here is because I read Year of Yes, and I went, my mum got ill, she got breast cancer, and I decided at that point that I needed to do something with my life, because it just exploded. So I read Year of Yes, and I decided to do everything that I would normally say no to, I would say yes to. Like things like this, I would normally say no, absolutely not. And it sort of led me on a completely new journey. And I often say to people, I want to be like Shonda. I want to have my own production company that makes content that reflects the environment I see. It reflects the people I see. Like, I'm from a Jamaican background. I love...
Happy Independence Day.
Thank you. I absolutely love the Caribbean. I love the richness that it brings, but I don't often see it. So I want a company that reflects my heritage, reflects that I'm a Yorkshire woman who has Caribbean roots. I'm a mum. You know, I want it to do that. But it's really weird, because a lot of the times you have to pick a side. So I want to do kids. I want to do factual. I want to do drama. I want to do it all. But I also want to do podcasting. So I want a multi-layered company that just brings the flavour, that, you know, that just allows you to be yourself. Like, I've in my head, because I Pinterest a lot.
Right.
So I've already got, Yeah, I already know what my office looks like. I've got a neon sign. You know, it's going to be one of them places where people can turn on the radio. There's going to tell it. It's going to be a whole mood.
Yeah.
It's going to be a place that's full of creativity, where no idea is a mad idea. I'm also a massive football fan. So one day I want to host a football show. You know, that's got us York lasses and lads and that in there. That, you know, why not? I want to do it all.
Yeah.
It's the only child in me. I want it all. Someone
in the chat saying we need more Desmonds. Speaking about Desmonds, they've just magically found, after all this time, the tapes for the real McCoy. Little Saf saying happy Independence Day, be right back. No worries, Little Saf. So they've just found the tapes for real McCoy, Desmonds. There seemed to be so many shows when I were a kid.
Yep.
That just all disappeared. And yeah, we do need northern versions of not necessarily the northern versions, but we need our stories, our Caribbean Yorkshire stories. We definitely need to be telling those.
It's going to be so different from the London version. You know, it's going to be an absolute whole mood. It'll be brilliant, especially when you've got your little Yorkshire accent coming out there. I'd love to see that, because I just feel like we need to be represented. Our stories need to be told. Definitely.
Yeah, you know, Anyway, I'm gonna reveal all my secrets there. Giving none of you guys my pitches. Something you've done that you're really proud of.
Ooh, this is a really good one. Oh my gosh. Right now, the thing that I'm really proud of the most is that I've written a 22-page business plan.
Jeez.
And before lockdown, that would never have happened. And I did that, and I'm so proud of myself. I'm part of a scheme called Women in Film and TV. And I tell you, I have women in that group that are...
Tell us about that, because I'm a member at times, but I never really go to any of their meetings or anything like that. Tell us a bit about what you do there.
Yeah, so I applied for it on the off. I didn't think I'd get it, because I was like, yeah, I'm not really good enough for that. You know, imposter syndrome was really hitting me hard. And I applied for it because I wanted to say something positive about myself, and that gave me the opportunity. And I am a network of 20, I think there's about 25 of us who are from varying different backgrounds and disciplines. And we do seminars. So every week, everybody gives a seminar. And I was like, ain't nobody want to listen to me. I just run a program in Yorkshire. Like, I'm not like them. We've got like directors, they're on Travel Man. They do, they're like big, you know. In fact, one of them did the documentary for Sky Gilbert for the George Floyd. I mean, that was massive. And I'm like, I'm not really supposed to be here because I just run a program. And I went into the session and I told them what I did, and I told them what my passion was. And instantly I had people saying, right, I run like finance for production companies. I've done a business plan. And I just had so much love and support. It literally was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I managed to do this business plan. And even now they're like, okay, regular check-ins, how's that going? We'll read it, talk to us. Oh, wow. So, you know, when I was at ITV, I would never have joined it because I never felt I was really part of the industry. But I would really recommend that if you are part of it, you should, because the support is fabulous.
Yeah, so they've got like a base in London and in Leeds, in Leeds as well. So depending on where you are in the country, you can pretty much get there, I think, quite easily.
Definitely, yeah.
People or companies that so people as in could be artists, could be directors, could be friends, companies, production companies, or countries you'd like to collaborate with. Like if you want to make something I really want to make something in South Africa, for example. Like what would you?
I'm going to be really obvious now. I want to go to Jamaica because I grew up watching like The Harder They Come, Smiley Orange.
Harder They Come. Do you remember the film Countryman?
Yes, I hated that film as a kid.
Oh my God, I used to love that film so much. Countryman, and he used to run, like, if you've never seen Countryman, please try and find it. Countryman, he spends the entirety of the film running through Jamaica. He's 6.
I never got it as a kid. And back then we had VHS, so it was poor quality. And I was like, my mum and my aunties and uncles would sit and watch it. Like, what is this? But Smiley Orange, just it probably was quite inappropriate for me to watch.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it, but I loved it. And it just took me just watching the rest of my family, and my grandpa and granddad used to every Christmas make us watch The Harder They Come. Every Christmas. It was mad, but it was lovely, and I just want more of that. I want to. I just love the Caribbean. So like my dad's side of the family is from St. Kitts. What more can we bring out of those islands?
Yeah. Two things here. So did you get to see the Harder They Come stage show at the Playhouse when it came?
I didn't. No,
I went twice.
Wow.
That's how good it was. Insane. It's probably one of the only, if not the only show, it's the only show I've ever seen when the entire audience is stood up on their feet dancing throughout the entirety of the play.
Yeah.
A play, not a film. Unreal it was. Secondly, before lockdown, I started a podcast with my old man, and he is old. He's very old, bless him. My dad's from Dominica, not Dominican Republic. Dominica, it's a different island. And I started getting into the history of Dominica and Guadeloupe and Martinique and all those little and small islands as they're known. And some of their history, like there's Maroon history, fighting colonialism, like real rich stories. And I'm like, yeah, I want to tell some of this for sure.
Absolutely. I've listened to your podcast. It's brilliant.
And I wish we could have done more, but because he's old and my Marge is on her way out, bless, she's watching. I'm only joking, Mum. The whole COVID thing, like it's just too much. But hopefully we'll get to do some more. I actually started that podcast because he is. He's not frail or anything. He still goes to gym 4 times a week. He's a right weightlifter. But because he's, in his later days in life, it's like almost like a time capsule for me to remember or to learn about his history, his childhood, and then pass that on a little bit.
Absolutely. That's lovely, and that's what we have to do, because if not, all that's going to be lost.
Yeah.
And I was really lucky because I grew up with all grandparents. My kids have not done too bad, but like I think when we were talking on our podcast, like my nana used to make coconut drops and that. I mean, she's older now; she doesn't really do it anymore. But like that was part of my growing up, and who knew that was a big part of our Jamaican culture. She made her own jerk seasoning. These are things that we should talk about more. And as you said, it's a time capsule in it, because if not, generations after will just never know this kind of life. Yeah,
it's so important. TVs and film shows that have inspired you.
Some of them are going to be controversial, and I apologize for this now, but listen, when I grew up, and I was born in 1980, one of my favorite shows was Different World.
Yeah,
I absolutely adored it, and I watched the reruns again, and that's what made me want to go to uni, because I wanted to be, I didn't really want to be Denise, because Denise was just a bit far out for me, but I kind of wanted to be Whitley, but not Whitley. I didn't want to admit that to people because Whitley was far bougie.
Yeah.
Off the scale. But I loved it, and those inspired me, and they made me want to work in telly. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but they made me realize that I could do that because they'd done it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then also I used to watch shows like Dance Central with DJ Normski. I'm showing my age now.
Normski, Jesus Christ.
Oh God,
he used to be on The Word. Do you remember The Word? I used to love The Word.
Yeah, I mean, all of these shows, I mean, funny, I had more representation growing up than my kids do. And that's really sad.
I say that. It went backwards, didn't it?
It did. It just disappeared. It's really, really sad. I mean, I grew up at a time when Ian Wright had his own. Sorry, I'm an Arsenal fan. Please don't boo. I love them.
I'm a rugby girl, so I don't understand that.
So Ian Wright had his own chat show. Could you imagine that now? I mean, like there was lots of reasons for why working in telly was a thing for me. It was accessible, and to them it isn't. So I grew up in a great era. I'm glad to be an 80s baby.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Best era.
Yeah.
And lastly, what do you wish your colleagues or people that you've worked with knew about you?
To be honest, they don't know most things about me because I talk far too much. Okay. and I think a lot of them do know that you know, I am quite an introverted person, and doing what I do is not easy. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Sam, you look so calm." I'm not calm. I
Yeah,
spend
it's that,
most
it's
of my
that
time.
swan thing, isn't it? You're like this on top and then like this underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. I spend most of my day scared, and I spend them scared because I feel like I'm not good enough and like I'm not supposed to be here. And no matter how many times people say to me, "You're brilliant, you're great," I don't often see that. And I think that's just a legacy of life that's done that, you know, because you don't feel like you've got the knowledge, or like I speak eloquently enough
Yeah.
in rooms. And I'm in a role now where I have to speak to people a lot, and I second guess myself a lot, and it's exhausting. So guys, I'm tired. I'm tired. If I could bring 100% of myself to work and I didn't have to care about what you thought about me because I might say something goofy, then I would be less tired, because I am quite a goofy person. I love football. I love my kids. I love my Jamaican heritage. I'm just weird. And I love being weird, but I often have to mask that. And I think that's what you should know, that I am tired most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about speaking properly, and especially in our industry, it can be elitist like that, especially if you've got a Yorkshire accent. Yeah, I've been told many times, I've written about it many times, you're going to have to change your accent. No, I'm not. Somebody put in the chat, introvert, but you do networking. That is tough. It is tough. We've come to the end of our little meeting, but thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate you. And hopefully we'll get you on, because this is going to be like a monthly thing now. So I'm going to get pretty much everybody who's black or brown in our industry on. So we'll do like a rotation thing like you did at Emmerdale and get you back on eventually. Is there anything else that you want to share before we go? Anything about the deadline or?
Yeah, so please, I really want to make this. I mean, due to COVID, we had to have the time shorter. So instead of 12 months, I've only got 6 months. And it's really important to me that we make every month count with the young people across the region. And I want to make this a diverse program as I can, because, you know, I just want to help. And I know that my colleagues at Screen Yorkshire want to help too. So please apply. Even if you don't, you can send in a video as well. You don't have to do it in writing. You can just go and send it up to Vimeo and send it to us. Just do it. What have you got to lose?
I think that's one good thing about Twitch. The audience is quite young. But even if you're not young and you're watching this on a different platform, but you know somebody in the West Yorkshire region, please share that with any young people that you know. You might not think that they're interested, but just share it anyway. We need to get some more black and brown bodies in this goddamn door. Thank you so much, Sam. Thanks to the audience for watching. I'm going to come back on later on tonight to do some gaming. Those of you who are into gaming. We will be back next week with the FTC showcase. Good night and God bless.